Hi folks, welcome to another episode of the Friendly Council, a new deck building series that we are doing with the Friendly Open Group. And I'm joined as always by my co-host Hannes. Hello.
Hi, Miha. Thanks for having me again.
So Hannes, who did we find this time to appear as the guest?
We have a really amazing player here. Welcome to the show, David.
Hello there.
Hey. So, it has been 1.5 years since Battle of the Nations, but one thing I do remember, I joined a stream, and this streamer basically said, okay, it's Greyjoy, Aloof versus some weird German deck. And this basically, of course, the one you played, David. So I always think you play unusual decks. Is that something you would also say about yourself?
Um, no.
Okay.
I think it should be the Martell Alliance deck that I was playing at that time, which was an unusual deck, giving that. But I'm not known for a great variety of decks that I can play. I'm more of a grinder player, so I pick a deck and then I grind the shit out of it, and then I get good with the deck and then I improve it over time. So that's more my play style. And like the last years, I've played a bit of Martell Alliance. Nowadays, my Starlight deck, and earlier I was a big fan of Drowned God with the Greyjoy Banner to the Sun deck that I created. Yeah.
Okay, I see. So in which deck did you grind during the last month, and which will you present here?
Oh, it's my House Martell Mummer's Farce deck.
Okay, nice. That's the one that you played at Starlek, right?
That's the one I played at Starlek. Yes, I was talking with Leonard. You've known him. He won a small store championship in the US called Worlds. And yeah, like we got good friends during the pandemic and we started preparing some decks for Starlek. And yeah, we built the skeleton of this deck together, and then I took it and I grinded and grinded and grinded and grinded and made it the deck that it is now.
Okay, really nice. So we have Martell with the agenda Mama's Farce. And then the question is like, how do you build that deck? Where do you start? Do you start with plots, characters? What do you basically want to achieve, and what's the core of this deck?
So the core of this deck is card draw. And I remember my good friend Martin Lewis from the UK. He won a tournament with Targaryen, a Mummer's Farce. And I looked at his list and I was thinking, hey, why are you using these two Citadel Archivist? Because it was a deck, the Fool stand, they get some Targaryen attachment, they get stronger and stronger and stronger. But I couldn't think of why do you run this Citadel Archivist? Because I ran them in the past, but for combo purposes. Then he said, yeah, he's decking himself.
Hmm.
And I thought, wait a minute, decking himself in a deck that that draws a lot of cards. Well, that is an interesting approach. And then I built a horrible first list, showed it to Leonard, and yeah, he threw a lot of cards out because I was copying styles from Martin's deck in this deck. And then something magical happened. The committee decided it's time to let Indorans name off the restricted list. And that
Okay.
that was like the key moment where I knew, okay, I have a deck here. I can this can run really well. And what Indorans name does, it gives you the ability to gain gold in the taxation phase, so that you have gold for someone always tells in the plot phase. and so you are able to cancel plot effects, which is really, really strong. And the deck itself, it runs a bunch of winnies, and they are highly vulnerable to some plot effects or to resets. And if you can cancel these resets and you keep all the card advantage because you keep all the cards under the Fools, you are basically playing with your whole hand. And then I thought I want to play with the discard pile as well. So I had to slot another plot in.
Okay.
And that's how the deck was made. Like a good control deck or a good Martell deck, it runs 20 events.
20 events. Okay, so should we then start with the events?
Yeah, we can start with some of the events. Yes, like not all of them, but we can start with the events. So, as I mentioned, Endurance name 3 times.
Nice.
Someone always tells 3 times.
All right.
The Princess Plan 3 times. You're running a bunch of weenie guys. They have to get stronger. So,
That
Princess
makes
Plan
sense, yeah.
and give them the icons you need. And then it's time for a win condition, and it's Doran's game.
Yeah, not surprising for Martell. Yeah.
Not surprising. Yeah, but only 2 times.
Okay. So you're basically counting on the strong card draw that you will get it at the right time.
Yes. So I think you see on average around 40 cards of your deck.
Well, that's quite
40 to 45 cards. It's normally what you see. And since we use the discard pile as well, you can run it twice, and that's basically anything you need. Like if you find one, you have it like another time as well. So then let's go to the characters.
Okay.
I always type in I'm working with the search function, so I type in K _fool, and then we can see all the fools there are. I don't know how you do it, but if I know what I want to have.
Mm-hmm.
So
That makes sense.
the best 2 fools there are Shackwell and Patchface.
Because they copy the keywords, right?
Shackwell copies the keywords under certain circumstances, and Patchface copy anything from the other fools.
Okay.
So Banshee Code wasn't out there at that time. I ran 3 High Garden Gesture for Quattro.
Mm-hmm. Because they get inside and can be copied by Patchface and Shackle. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then in the earlier draft, I ran, I think, 3 Dantos Hollers and 2 Penny, but in playtesting, it has always been 3 Penny and only 2 Sir Dantos.
Okay.
And 1 cheeky copy of Jingle Bell.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you have tutoring if one of the 2 key fools does not turn up, or yeah.
Yes, or just as a 1-drop fool who draws you a card. Like, as a bot, he's also excitingly good. For 1, he has 1 strength and he has a card, and with the Princess Plans, he can be anything.
Oh, true. Okay, I see. Yeah.
Yes. So if we go for Endurance name, we have to support that a little bit. So to support Endurance name, there's only one good answer, and that is Ricasso.
Nice.
I think he's stable in most of Martell decks that work around the discard pile of plots.
Yeah. 3 copies then?
Yes, 3 copies.
Excellent. And what other support characters for the fools do you have?
Since we are talking about Ricasso and we are bestowing gold on him, and we want to bestow gold on characters or on cards, they are the Begging Brothers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there is one newer character which turned out to be amazing, and that is the Tattered Prince.
So
I run 3 Begging Brothers and 2 of the Tattered Prince.
Mm-hmm. So the
And I'll
Tattered
tell you
Prince is
later.
for renown?
Yes, he's for the renown.
Okay.
One of the ways how all you fools can get renown. So on how many characters are you in your list then?
It's 23 at the moment.
23 at the moment. Okay. I also run Sir Cletus Bronyot. I cannot pronounce them. It's Sir Cletus. I'll run him because my deck likes to win the initiative. It likes to go second, but in some cases, it's good if I win the initiative and I'm able to cancel some plots.
Mm-hmm. And Sarklitus gives basically 1 initiative for each used plot pile, together with Ricasso that can really stack up, so it's
Yes.
possible to win initiative, even sometimes against Greyjoy decks, right?
Yes, it is like Sir Cletus wins you initiative against Greyjoy decks. Yes, like against Greyjoy, he can be one of the key cards.
Yeah.
And you need an answer for the Targaryen decks if they go full on Dothraki aggro. So shout out to Ishtavan, 2 times Desert Raider. I think one of my favorite cards in the whole game.
Yeah. So
In any deck I
amazing
play.
Flamesoak.
Yes, there. Yeah. So that should go for 26 characters.
Yes, exactly.
It's a low number, but it's a number. Like I wouldn't go lower, but I cannot justify to go higher.
Mm-hmm. I guess that's exactly these things that you have to work out by playing the deck over
yes.
and over and
Yes.
over again. Should it be 30, 28, 26? Can I go lowest 24?
Yeah.
It's sometimes hard to do that basically just in your head, right?
Yes, that's I think that you have, or I have to figure it out while playing. Maybe there's some math genius who can math it out, but I'm not that person.
Yeah, me neither. I always feel like somebody like Hanno, he does it all in his head and then writes down the list and then it's it. Probably it's also not the case, but it feels like that sometimes, but I also cannot do that. So it's good to know that good players also sometimes, need to, as you say, grind their way into the right settings for these things.
Yeah.
Cool.
So about the game plan. It's to trigger in Doran's in a Doran's game, and potentially win an intrigue challenge with maximum to 5, so gain 5 power, maybe an offense and defense as well, so you can go on 10 power a turn. But there's another win condition, and the win condition is renown. And how do you get renown on your characters? You need some combo pieces assembled. First of which is Shagwell. And Shagwell has the text, while a character with 1 or more gold has a keyword, each full character with 1 or more gold gains that keyword. So, for example, if a character with renown is on the board, it could be the Tattered Prince, could be a character your opponent is controlling, and you put 1 gold on it, all your characters that have also 1 gold of it gain the same keywords. Can be renowned, and therefore I'm running 3 Unbridled Generosity to put gold on cards on either my characters or on my opponent characters.
Okay, so you can basically then make an attack with a couple of fools and gain 3, 4, 5 renown, although they do not initially have a renown through the copy of
Yes.
Shagwell. Okay,
And I think
nice.
that's mostly the time how you win the games. You are triggering Doran's game by 5, and then you're triggering 4 or 5 pools with renown, and you swing just for 9 power, and maybe you have like 6 powers through the earlier turns, getting an unopposed challenge or winning a power challenge here or there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's mostly the deck, and it can be really explosive. Like it can go, I think, from 2 to 15 was from 2 to 15 was the thing that I came closest. Never went from 0 to hero, but making 13 power in one turn is still feels good.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yes. So that's the basic skeleton for the deck. And now let's go for location, because we were neglecting them.
Okay.
I put in 3 Dornish fiefdoms,
Mm-hmm.
1 Galtown, because it supports the money gain aspect from in Doran's name.
Mm-hmm.
2 Rose Roads, 2 Water Gardens, because this card is just awesome with Prince's Plan, and with Dawn, which I put also 2 times in, just to get more stable card draw. Dawn could be another card, but still a Martell deck with Dawn just feels better. And 1 cheeky copy of Meadowlark, which is amazing in that deck. I wish I could run more copies of Meadowlark.
Okay, so with this, you can easily tutor one of the cheap fools, maybe even during the challenges phase.
Or
and you only need to win 1 or 2
yes,
rounds,
or
right?
I get a surprise Desert Raider, or I can put in, if I saved some money and I went 3 plots, I can put in Ricasso and
Mhm.
bestow him. It's just a super good card because I don't have characters that are costing more than 3.
Okay.
And if you have it on setup or in your starting hand, you can trick it with at Prince Doran's behest, so that you get 2 journey tokens on it, and then you have just to play 1 more round.
Yeah, and then you can basically choose any character from your deck that you just need, right?
Yes, it's an amazing card.
So, one question about the economy. Have you ever considered Bravos in this deck? Because I see you have potentially 5 different factions among your characters.
To be honest, I haven't. That's a good point, and I think it's worth a try. I think if you have the water gardens, it's fine because then Bravos gets cheaper. Yeah, I think I have overseen this, so maybe it's the right call.
So I guess it
No,
depends
Mia, you
on
just made the deck even better.
it depends, I guess, on how likely it is that you would have all the characters in play. I know that when I have played Fools in some decks, it was possible to have, for instance, 3 of them, of those that count, of course, towards the gold you get for Bravo. So that would be in this deck Patchface, Penny, Sardontos, and High Garden Jester. And if you get 3 of them, then basically it pays for itself the round it enters play, and then gives you some bonus. It can work, but then on empty boards, of course, it's a giant waste because you might get nothing back, and neutrals
Yes.
don't count either towards the gold you get.
Yeah. It's a little bit. Depending. I think, but I will test it for sure. I will test it. There, that's a nice thought. I like it. I like it very much. Thank you. As I wrote in my post Starlek article, I think like that was the version I took, and it worked very good for me. But I don't think it's like the best version, or I think like people can still improve the deck and refine it even to a better deck. And maybe like slotting out Dorn instead of Bravos could be worth it. Yeah. So then attachments, right?
Mhm.
It's plain and simple 3 seized by the guard.
Okay. So no milk of the puppy.
I would love to run it but I cannot afford it. There were a few cards in here in the deck that make the deck stable and that I need to run it. And Seized by the Guard is one of the cards because you otherwise will lose certain matchups, and with Seized they are winnable for you.
Okay. So what are key locations that you would try to seize for this deck that else are hard to win?
Pike.
Pike, okay, yeah.
Pike. It gets basically rid of every character you have, depending, or most of the characters you have, and you need to have an answer for Pike if you're playing Greyjoy. There is one answer. I slot it in by plot, and then you need to rely on Seized by the Guard. If you play against Martell, you need Martell control, you need Backing Brothers to cancel Varys. Or you need an answer for Varys. Because the deck is only good if you can maintain a board state. If you cannot maintain a board state, the deck falls apart. So I have to put every card in there that helps me to keep on having like the board advantage, or at least to go equal with the other guys, with the other characters from my opponent. And that is a key element that I figured out during testing.
Okay, 3 Seized by the Guards. Then we have some events left, right?
Yeah. So, as I said, Varys is a big problem. And sometimes other characters like Draw Usher, sometimes who's really annoying as well. What's it called? The Lannister guy who kills?
Cerulean Pain.
Cerulean Pain. Like the dragon, Drogon, or Daenerys. These are cards you have to deal with, and if you don't find your backing brothers, it's good if you have like 2 nightmares, just in case. Also, you need nightmares if you play against Greyjoy with Sir Baelor Blacktide. he can be messy against this deck.
So he's the one where you cannot play cards where you have copies in your discard pile, right?
Yes.
Okay. 2 nightmares?
Yes. And then the last 2, I think, is He Calls It Thinking. And He Calls It Thinking was used for several purposes. It's either to cancel a hand's judgment on Endurance name in the taxation phase, or if your opponent was playing the Nope Throne and he just sat in the plot phase, try to Nope Throne you into Someone Always Tells, and then he calls it Thinking the Throne, and you can leverage your reset. You leverage to cancel the reset.
Yeah, that makes sense. But then we are at 18 events, right? Mia?
18 events, okay.
Yes.
So 2 events missing.
58 cards at the moment.
Ah, yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, 2 copies of Burning on the Scent.
Okay. So also to basically be guarded against strong military aggro, or would you rather also use it on intrigue challenges or power challenges?
The first purpose is that it's canceling an early Claim 2 challenge on military. But it's good also in power or in intrigue. Sometimes you want to protect this one event in your hand that you want to trigger, and then it's a really good card. Sometimes if you don't care, you just have it in your hand, and then if that burning gets discarded, was the same thing as playing it. I needed it against the aggressive decks.
Okay.
If I don't find my Desert Raider early, I have to have some answers before, and then I'm digging through the deck, hopefully, or like trying to get the Desert Raider, and then you're set against aggro.
Cool. So that's 60 cards in the draw deck.
Yes,
What is
60
in the
cards.
plot deck?
And it has to be exactly 60 cards.
Here we go again.
I'm personally, I don't mind playing more than 60 cards. I know, shockingly. I have a really good reason not to do it in this deck. Because for
Okay.
me, the key elements to winning the game is keeping up at the board state, and you need Endurance Name and Someone Always Tells to draw that. And if you draw it just one card too late, you might lose the game. So for me, it's really important that I draw these cards as soon as I can.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's my reason for this card. It basically can be the same argument in any deck, but I think it's really important in this deck to have a chance of going off.
No, I think it makes sense. There are decks that, of course, have more important cards, but here with the vulnerability that you have among the characters, to me, it stands to reason that Endurance Name is particularly important.
Yes. So, at the Prince Doran's behest, nets you one plot from turn 1 into your what's it called, archive?
Used
The
pile.
used plot pile. Yes, it's a staple. Then
Yeah.
I wanted to go for Counting Coppers because I want to draw the Someone Always Tales as soon as possible, and I'm highly disruptible in the first 2 turns of the game. And if my opponent starts with First Snow Winter or turn 1 or turn 2, I need to have it then.
Mhm.
So if my opponent starts First of Winter, I would often go from Prince Doran's behest into Counting Coppers and just get the plot cancel if I find it or didn't have it in hand.
Yeah. Okay, because Someone Always Tells can cancel all triggered plot
Yes.
actions, also if it's in the challenge phase. Also, so it could also, for example, cancel Mad King's command, right?
Yes. That's the second big reset plot that's really annoying for me, apart from Valamogulus, obviously.
Right, and Mad King's command probably mostly because each card under the Fools counts as an attachment, and you can only retain 3 attachments with Mad King's command, so you have to give up a lot of these cards under the Fools. If it
Yes,
goes
but
through.
it's more that I like to go my board go wide,
Okay.
and then it's more about the characters than the attachments.
All right, okay.
Because my 3 characters are mostly worse than my opponent's 3 characters. And it's about the card draw that I have, like cards in shadows, cards in hand. I don't run secret schemes, so it's hard to redraw your hand if this happens.
Okay.
So I need I need
Coppers.
some economy plot. Summer Harvest. If you have the luxury to use at Prince Doran's behest, and you see your opponent is flipping into his own Summer Harvest, or is flipping into trading or Late Summer Feast, yeah, get Summer Harvest down.
Oh,
If
so
he's
you
flipping
would
it,
intentionally play Summer Harvest into Summer Harvest just to mess up the
yes,
opponent's gold.
yes, to mess up my opponent's plan, and I have all the little 1 guys or 2 drops. So like if we have less gold, I'm profiting from it because he cannot play his Euron. Yes, but I can play my penny or my Shackwell.
All right, interesting. Yeah.
Yes, it's also like about denying your opponent the gold.
So, that have you thought about naval superiority then?
I still like having gold. If you tell me which plot I should slot out, yes. But you can try it. I think it's not good because, like, I think my deck is basically a good deck, and if I have all the gold, I can play all the things I want. So I'm not very frightened about the cards of my opponent because if I have all the gold I need, I can basically counter or have an answer for everything else.
Okay, so
It was
basically,
very rarely that I ran into a card where I said, okay, I have no answer to this in my deck.
hmm. So
Yeah,
basically, it's more important that you have a lot of gold than the opponent not having gold, and therefore naval is not the best choice.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I don't get any big advantages out of it, like denying my opponent a board state, because I can always reset it if I need to. Yes.
Okay.
So, having an answer for Pike or for economy cards or for the Winterfell, the 4 gold Winterfell, the
Hmm.
Smith. All my little fools get weapon attachments. Why not use the Smith to kneel all my opponent's location? Included, if not now, then the Nope Throne.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And if you find Sir Cletus in the Greyjoy matchup and you start turn 2, which is mostly the turn where they try to play Pike if they haven't done it turn 1, because they are tutoring for it for the first plot or maybe the second they have it then they play the what I've seen Greyjoy plays a lot of the Brand the Builder turn
Yeah.
1 because they get like one big dude out and then they have Pike. Um, so it's good to be then first player, and if Pike gets out, they bounce one of your guys, maybe, but sometimes they want to wait for the challenge phase, and then you can control it with a Smith, and later, hopefully, you drew your Seize by the Guard.
Hmm.
A reset. Valador Harris.
Yeah. With
Two
so
purposes.
many low-cost
Yes.
characters, that makes sense, right?
Yes, you keep on average 4 characters, 2 3-cost characters, 2 2-cost characters, and your opponent keeps one of his big guys, which is an advantage then for you. Also, it's a good protection against Vala Morghulis because you win the initiative and you can, if you are flipping into like double Vala, you can protect your characters you couldn't protect earlier.
Hmm.
Also, now with Benji code, you could get them back if you run Benji code in the deck.
Oh, yeah.
Because the fools would go to the bottom of your deck. Or at least you can arrange that. So,
Yeah.
yeah. There is an argument to be seen with Dawn and Benji code, because you can also put one card to the bottom of your deck. So, maybe I should test Benji code.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you do if your Endurance name gets cancelled? Because your opponent dares to play his hand's judgment in the taxation phase.
The one option is to throw over the table and call it a draw.
Yes. Yes. You could do that. Or
What's your alternative?
outplay your opponent. He now he now thinks, oh, my reset is safe. He cannot do anything. He places Vala M, and you just flip into calling the banners. Go first. Your opponent has to have at least 2 characters, and then you have the gold, and you can play someone all as tells.
Okay. Yeah. That makes
I
sense.
used this in one of the last games, Swiss round 7, I think, at Stalag. was one of the later games. I played against Greyjoy. I cancelled his turn to Vala just like that, and it won me the game.
Yeah.
And really, I think it really threw off my opponent.
Yeah, I can imagine it must be frustrating for
There's like
thinking,
I I'm not a real fan of the combination. Someone always tells and endurance name. You have to work for it, but I don't like plot cancel. A plot cancel should be in the form of outwit, and even there, I think, for example, in a Greyjoy or not Greyjoy, in a Greyjoy or a Night's Watch aloof deck, it's some kind of problematic. I think, from my perspective, plots should be sacred at some extent. And yeah, I ran it because it was good, or it was so good it overperformed. But I'm not thinking that's a good thing to have in the game. That's my
Yeah.
personal opinion.
Okay. I'm undecided, actually. Some days I think it the same
Yes,
as
if you
other
play it, it's
days I
good,
think
and if your opponent plays it, yeah.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
it, yes.
Well, if you sit on the other time of plot cancel, and you like have all your nice plots and you want to do something, for example, I was playing against the Trident deck, and he flipped into siege preparation, and you just cancel their siege preparation, and they don't draw 6 cards or 5 cards.
Oh, that's terrible.
That's just terrible. Yeah. So, and my restricted card, the Annals of Castle Black.
All right, so that's how you use the discard pile, as you mentioned earlier,
Yes,
to play
that's
Doran's game again.
yes. You use the discard pile. You start using the discard pile in the plot phase, and you use the unbridled generosity there to put gold on all the fools, or maybe some gold on Seized by the Guard, so that you use it in plot or draw phase before the marshalling phase starts, and it's just one more round of one of the locations that cannot play or cannot be used in the game. That's just good value. And you can use it to put gold on your opponent characters as well. So, for example, if they are big on Intimidate and you win initiative through Cletus, why don't go first and use the Intimidate on all your fools? Yes? Or the Assault. Like, the possibilities are there. Just you have to be a little bit creative.
Yes, but I think also careful if you want to copy Assault, because you might get no attachments on
Yes,
your
you
full
deserve to
characters
win.
as well.
If you deserve to lose, if then you flip lose by losing all of your attachments. But sometimes there are cards like no attachment except the weapons. So, and then if some of your fools are milked, you can get rid of the milk as well.
Right.
That's
and
why Sir Dontos is in.
Yeah.
So you can get like milks of characters, unless the milk is on Shackwell.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the deck. 7 plots, 60 cards, 20 events, quite a lot. So my first question would be, do you get problems with setup with 20 events, or does that work out usually?
It normally works out because all the characters you have are fairly cheap, and all the locations you run are fairly cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have Dorn in setup, it's not bad either, because then you slow down the first round. If you're starved, you have the option to go Counting Coppers turn 1. Just get cards and build a board presence from there.
Okay. So, and you said you basically have answers to almost everything that's out there. but are there certain kind of decks that you're typically struggling against, and what are like basically key cards that are still maybe difficult to answer with your full stack?
I think Burn is the deck that is the most problematic deck.
Okay.
But Burn was hit by the restricted list pre-Starlek.
Mhm.
The problem is your characters are fairly low, so they can be easily burned. They are not of I don't have a lot of ways to protect them. I can do Princess Plan, and maybe they survive the challenge, but after the challenge they will still die to the burn effect. I want to use my Someone Always Tells to cancel plots and not burn spells. If you don't have an answer to Daenerys, because she can like burn multiple characters pretty easily, it's really hard.
Mhm.
So I think burn is the predator of my deck.
One small maybe rules question, as we have the expert here, Miha. So Princess Plan goes until the end of the phase, and for example, Dracarys with the reduction in strength also lasts until the end of the phase. So does that mean that basically the first player decides which effect wears off first? So if you are with your Martell full stack, the first player, you can say first Dracarys wears off, then Princess Plan, the character does not die, or if the burn player is first player, they can do it the other way around and it actually dies before you go into dominance phase?
No, so if they can expire simultaneously, they will expire simultaneously. So your
Okay.
character will stop getting the plus strength, but then at the exact same time, Dracarys will stop trying to kill it. So you are fine that way.
Oh,
Okay.
still, yes. Okay, then you have I didn't know that. That's nice. Then you have a way to be better against burn, but I still think burn eats the deck.
Okay. And what about like control decks? Like Miha likes to play like Neil deck, stuff like that. Is that okay for you?
It depends. Like against control decks, the Backing Brother is really good. So
Yeah.
if I have like a Backing Brother and I can re-bestow him with unbridled generosity, Neil decks are also a problem because you don't like if your characters kept getting kneeled, you don't get the card advantage over it, and passive power location or power gain from, for example, Iron Throne and Painted Table, you need to find you seized, and if you don't get the card advantage by the Fools, that could be the time while the Baratheon deck runs away. I think the most problems would be the cannot stand skip standing phase plot into Celise,
All right.
because all your cards are knelled for 2 rounds, and if you don't have an answer for that, and if you're going first and everything is kept knelled, that's a 2-turn advantage that you cannot come back from, or it's at least very hard. But if you know you're playing against Barra, go for the Bagging Brothers. You need
Yeah.
them.
Also against Fat Robert, right? Who also could basically deny any kind of stand for your characters.
Yes. And
Yeah.
that's why you are going big on Bagging Brothers. Like you need to see them. You need to see one of them at least at turn 2. That's why you all sometimes have to play the early counting coppers just to see answers to problems.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's still like you can still win the game if you like win 2 times an intrigue challenge with one character, and you need only one standing character, which potentially could come out of shadows. You put him uh, Princess Plan on him, give him the strength, give him the intrigue icon, and then trigger the Doran's game. And you can do it in defense, since these kind of Baratheon decks try to attack your hand as well with the intrigue icons from all the roller ladies or girls. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can still go passive to 10 power, and then you have to make it from there.
And what about like these Nightwatch aloof decks where I feel, they just slap big guy after big guy, they're strong on intrigue. Can you still overpower them?
Penny is an answer there, because if you have more cards in shadows, and these Night's Watch aloof decks tend not to have more cards in shadow than you are, you can steal their interesting keywords with Ricasso, and if you bestow some of them, and they are supported by either Castle Black or the Wall, and you can use seized on these locations, so they have an advantage. And if they are going too big, like if they have to put character for character for character on the board to try to overpower you, you just play your Valador Harris, and often their answer is outwit, and you just cancel the outwit.
All right, okay, so they use outwit to cancel your Harris, but if you have gold through Doran's name, you can use someone always tells to again cancel outwit. Is that?
Yes.
Ooh, yeah, many plot cancels. And Penny is basically giving the opportunity to have stealth and then go around the big guys.
Yes, Penny, and if you put Golden Penny on the other fools, all of you fools have stealth. And that is an answer. That's the answer why Penny is a 3-off in the deck and not a 2-off, as I started with a 1-off in testing with Penny. But she's just too good, and she also gains the intrigue icon, which can be overseen in a game across table. Online, you can see it most of the time. But will tend to have a kind of messy board state, because all of the cards, they are under the fools. It's sometimes hard to remember if you play a longer tournament which cards were under which fool. And you often have to check them out during challenges phase. I think that's the slightly downside. I don't like playing pools, because it can be a bit messy depending how much space you have.
Yeah, and the last type of deck I would be curious about is like if you have a really hard attrition deck, so where I'm thinking about decks that Radek likes to play, like Lenny Kraken, or also his Tyrell Banner of the Lion, where you have 4 or 5 resets or attrition plots in there and stuff like that. Can you still handle that, or does that become a problem?
Depending, it obviously can go either way, but if you can maintain a board state, and you can cancel the first snow, and if you cancel the Vala Morgulis, these are good cards to keep ahead. I think I have a positive win rate against. I think I'm standing 4-0 against Martell Hollow Hill. Like, this is the only deck I like to play against Martell Hollow Hill, because I feel I have a chance to win. Like, not that I'm like winning, and it's always not a really exciting feeling to play against Martell Hollow Hill, but you have some answers. And I think that could be the same, but to be honest, I don't think, or at least I don't remember that I played a lot against Lenny Kraken, and it can be that you lose these games. Yes.
Yeah, but
some games can just like over the top. If you lose like the one card you need to protect your hand, or the one nightmare you lose it by intrigue challenge, and that's was your answer for Varys. It can go south, but I
Yeah.
think that's part of the variety of Game of Thrones and the many the many possibilities that this game enables.
Yeah, true.
And it's not set in stone that you always win against such and such deck.
Okay, so how about the opposite case where they go really quickly, like a Stark Crossing or maybe the Greyjoy Mammoth deck?
So against the Greyjoy Mammoth deck, I got wrecked in the semifinals. I played it, I think, 3 or 4 times online then, and then I won every game. To be honest, I didn't play. I don't know how good my opponents were that were playing the deck online. So there might be a difference in skill compared to my opponent at Starlek. But I think there you want to keep a wider board, and I couldn't do that in my game because my opponent was like or could have a bigger board state than I did, and that's one of the reasons I lost that game. And I think his cards were better, or the cards he drew were better than the cards I drew at the time. So I think that was one of the problems I figured out why I lost this game. Star Crossing can be really fast, but I think against Star Crossing you just try to defend as much as you can. Maybe try to cancel Superior Claim. They are not big on resets, so you have other things, and then you have to remember that you also can be very explosive with your deck. And here as well, it's like more important to get a big board state against Stark.
Hmm.
Like to have answers, you don't want to have only 3 pumped up characters because all your characters have to kneel. You're either using them on offense or on defense, but you're not doing anything with them. There is a card which Mel ran into her deck, and this is ambush claim raise Hota.
Okay.
He could be an answer to these kinds of decks because he comes in basically for free, depending on your game state. If you have free castle and if you have Meadowlark and if you triggered your the plot at Prince Doran's behest, and then you get claim 2 out of it. So this card could be a cool addition to the deck. The problem is economy is tight in the deck. And it's only good if you draw this card in hand and if you don't have it under your folds. Because if you have it under your folds, you have to pay for it, and then he's on the table, and then your opponent doesn't want to attack into it.
Yeah.
But it's still a good answer, and I think it's one of the cards I would love to play in the deck more. And if I going for a slightly jankier version, I will include that card for sure, because with the Prince's Plan, he can be an answer to every challenge with a potential of claim raise. And then if you claim raise 1 or 2 times, because the crossing deck has to attack you to leverage his challenge, you might be able to just do 3 claim 2 power or 3 claim 3 power challenges, like intrigue or power, depending what do you have still standing.
Yeah, okay.
But I don't have it in my deck, so I was wrecking Night's Watch like all day long, I think. I lost 2 games. Let me check. I lost 1 game against Tark Burn. It was my second game, and then I lost the semi-final. And I think I was then pretty well in all the other games. Yes. I played Night's Watch 4 times at Starlek. I won against Costas Night's Watch Valyrian Steel, Tamash, Night's Watch Aloof, Tamash, Night's Watch Aloof, and then Argento, Night's Watch Reigns.
Oh.
So from my perspective, like the stealth, the ability to cancel Outwit and use Valador Harris, and then having a plot cancel, for example, for the Reigns trigger, who are then not very like threatening if you know you can or you could potentially trigger a Reigns trigger. Yeah, and get rid of their Castle Black and the wall cards. I think that deck tends to destroy Night's Watch. I think the deck is not that hard to play mechanic-wise, but you need to be at least a decent player or like a very grindy player that you know in which matchups from turn 1 is the cards you're looking for to prolong the game and then to take over the game. So you need to know this is the matchup where I will need Sir Dontos because of the no attachments except weapon, or where you need to see Cease, or where you know in this deck is Begging Brother a very important card.
Mm.
And that you only get by grinding many games or being, I think, a very good player with a lot of understanding of your opponent's deck by only seeing the top 5 cards of his deck, or 5-6 card, and then you have to have an idea how to beat that deck.
Yeah. But so from my perspective, I would say this is not a beginner's deck. So because these are exactly these things that you cannot be expected to know when you don't have that much experience. So it's probably shows its strength if you already know the game well, know the meta well, and then can quickly think of these answers. So I would categorize it as like an advanced player's deck, although it's still an amazing one, of course. So thank you very much for presenting that, David.
Thank you for having me here.
Yes, so I watched your game, I think, against Argento at Starek from a distance. It's a bit difficult to see there. I think I was on the side where Argento was playing, and I could see his cards, and I thought he was doing pretty well. He had his cards that he needed, but then suddenly things started to turn around really dramatically. And I think the first time I understood this deck was when someone played it at Team Regionals, at the game that we recorded, and went from basically losing the game and having nothing much in play to just suddenly being invincible because the Princess plan was available, everything had a bunch of strength, and there was really no way to get around the fools anymore. And we just saw what you described, basically the quick win with some renown and Duran's game. So I am really looking forward to playing this on stream over the weekend sometime. And yes, thanks a lot for giving us this really nice deck.
Yeah, shout out to Leonard, who was also like the architect of this deck as well, but he decided for to go for the Lenny Free Company deck, and had also some success.
Right, I've heard, right? So both probably pretty good decks. And yeah, happy to have it here. And thank you for being with us.
Yeah. So thank you for having me here. Don't play Tyrell, guys.
All right, and thanks of course to all of our viewers for joining us once again, and hopefully see you next time as well. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks, bye bye.